Hey guys, it's Coach Matt with Lifelong Recovery. In this video, I'm going to talk about why maybe you can't stay sober. So if you've been drinking for a long time and you've been trying to quit, or you've been using some other substance and you've been trying to quit, but you just can't seem to, stay stopped from it, there's reasons for that, okay? And trust me, you're not alone in this. Millions of people struggle with this and they don't understand why it's so hard. Why can't I just stop? Why can't I, maybe I can stop for a little bit, but I always go back. Why do I keep doing this to myself? And again, the first thing to understand is you're not alone. You're not crazy. You may feel like you're crazy, but really it's a sickness, okay? So addiction is called a lifestyle related disease. And what that means is it's basically the same process as heart disease or type 2 diabetes, meaning that it develops over time. So there's a strong genetic component, but there's also environmental factors. So if you look at like diabetes type 2, right? There is that genetic predisposition, so it's passed down in your family, but it's also dependent on the choices that you're making, meaning like the foods that you're eating, exercise, things like that. So obesity obviously contributes to diabetes type 2. So addiction is very similar in how it develops. There is a strong genetic component. Maybe the strongest component of addiction is like the biological nature. And the heredity, it being passed down in your family. But there's also that environmental factors, which is basically how much and how often you're drinking and using, that develops into addiction. So the thing is, as addiction develops, it's actually making changes, physical changes in your brain that make it harder to make rational decisions. Okay, so it really tricks you into continuing to drink and use and then not being able to quit when you want. So these physical changes that are taking place in the brain make it very difficult to make rational decisions. And basically, what I always tell people is you're not working with a full deck. And what I also say is, when you're trying to quit on your own, basically you're trying to fix your broken brain with your broken brain. Now, that may seem harsh. Some people may not like it, but there's really a lot of truth to that. Maybe a nicer way to say it is that you're trying to fix your diseased brain with your diseased brain. So if you've been trying to do it alone, stop, okay? There's no shame in asking for help. Again, if I have a disease of the brain, right, the thing that is responsible for making my decisions, then I'm probably going to need help in making better decisions. It just is what it is, okay? And make no mistake about it, this is a chronic brain disease, okay? So if don't do what I did, guys. I spent 2 years trying to quit on my own, and it was fucking miserable, let me tell you. And the thing about it that made it probably the most miserable is the way that it tanked my self-esteem. Because I was trying to quit on my own and I fucking couldn't, day after day, every day my self-esteem got a little bit lower, that I drank again and I was trying not to. I felt like I was beating my head against the wall, and it's literally maddening. It's disturbing, it's sad, it's just awful living in that misery. So please, there's no shame in asking for help. In fact, I'll tell you a quick story. When I was sitting in a hospital detoxing, I finally decided to get help, and they told me, they were like, look, you need to go into medical detox before you can get counseling and stuff. So I went into a hospital, and I'm lying in the hospital bed, and my aunt calls me. And, at this point, I'm just feeling like lowest of low. All I can think is, how did I let it get this bad, right? And my aunt says to me, she said, it takes such a man to ask for help. And that just totally was the complete opposite of, how I was feeling at the time. I mean, I thought I was a worthless piece of shit at that point, to be honest. But she was right. It takes a big person to ask for help. have the humility, to say, I can't fucking beat this on my own, and it's okay. Most people can't. Most people can't do it alone. So if you've been trying to do it alone, just stop. Just fucking swallow your pride and ask for help. If you can get professional counseling, go to a treatment center, a recovery coach like what I do, or if you can't afford the professional help, don't fret, because there's tons of free recovery program like support groups out there, 12-step and otherwise. If you've tried 12-step and it's really not your thing, don't give up. There's lots of others, and feel free to contact me. I can help you look for those or find those in your area. So if you've dabbled with getting help or support, but you just kind of dipped your toe in the waters, up the frequency and up the consistency. Okay, there's no shame in it. Just get help on a consistent basis, and anyone that's been through addiction and is now in recovery likely it's going to be a pleasure, honestly, for them to help you. So don't feel like you're burdening people or whatever, bothering people. And the fourth thing for why you may not be able to stay sober, the basic thing that's going on in your brain is the reward system in your brain has been hijacked. So if you look at dopamine, your brain produces a set level of dopamine, right? And then if I keep using substances, that dopamine, I'm basically flooding my brain with this artificial dopamine, right? So my brain responds by lowering the amount of dopamine that it's producing, okay? So now if I decide I want to get clean and sober, whereas before I started drinking and using, my brain was producing dopamine at this level, it's now producing it down here. So with less dopamine, what happens in the brain basically is you feel bored, depressed, all these things, and this makes it way fucking harder to stay sober, right? Because you're craving that fucking dopamine that you used to be getting on a regular basis. So the good news is the brain will make repairs. It will make adjustments in the level of dopamine that it produces, but it's going to take time. So there's a phrase in 12-step recovery, they say, you got to get comfortable being uncomfortable, okay? So things that in the past, they may have been really fun to you, now it may not feel as fun for a little bit, but it'll get there again, I promise. You just gotta kind of understand what's going on in your brain and kind of wait it out. And just, because every time you drink or use, every time you give in, you're feeding that jacked up reward system in your brain. But every time you abstain, you're helping the brain heal. So your brain's not getting these huge spikes of dopamine like it used to. So just understand that, hey, this might be tough for a while, okay? But getting the support of other people who've been through it is really going to be helpful with that. So guys, you're not crazy. It's an illness. It's a disease. There is help. 25 million people living in the US in recovery. You can do it. I promise. Please get help. Reach out if I can help you. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll talk to you soon.